Morning.
Good morning, Sean.
And good morning, everyone out there.
Because you know I'm still gonna look and make sure it really is live. I don't trust it.
I think we're live. This is right now.
Yeah, look. See the delay. It really happens.
Oh, awesome.
We're really there.
Awesome.
Exciting times.
Today's date, April 12th.
That is today.
2021.
That's what's up.
Hey, there's a lot going on in our community.
There's a lot going around the world.
Around the nation in particular. We're going to get into all of that briefly. But before we do that, I just want to check in. And you didn't ask yet, but I'm going to tell you how I'm doing this morning. Right?
How are you doing, Sean?
Hey, thank you. I'm doing well, right? I worked out this morning again. I'm eating healthy, got my smoothie going. Feeling stronger. I got more energy. I feel like I look better, even though ain't that much change happened yet, right? But I do feel a lot better, and that's so it's impacting just like my outlook. And yeah, I feel okay. I'm disturbed, obviously, by what I'm continuing to hear, in our country, and I will get into all that in a little bit. But yeah, I'm doing okay. How about yourself? How you feeling?
I'm great.
Okay.
I'm bringing the sunshine today.
Okay, I see.
Hold on, wait. Can we actually see the sunshine? Sunshine.
I see
it.
Got
a little sunshine on it.
So, yeah, for those that don't know, like what this whole outfit looks like this morning is something to behold, right? I remarked about how it was, what we said this morning. It was like rain clouds.
It's rainy and cloudy and dreary.
Yeah.
And as soon as I thought about that, I said, "Oh no, I know what I'm wearing."
Exactly. I'm gonna bring the sun with me today.
I'm bringing it with me.
The sun won't be on vacation, not on my watch.
Not on my watch.
All right. Well,
but anywho,
good morning to you and the sunshine that you brought with you today.
I'm doing great and drinking lots more water because that's a real thing. But we have a lot to talk about. I feel like that's our check-in because the world is constantly always on fire.
And just before we get there, I just want to have just a quick, quick update. We're going to be talking health and wellness a little bit more often on these calls. We do a lot of working out. We're eating healthier. We're doing that. And it's important for us to maintain the fight. It's important in life, period.
Yeah.
And it's important also to push back against a lot of what we learned, like in our diets, how to eat coming up. And in our communities, in my community where I grew up, we lived in what's called food deserts, right? Where there isn't really healthy food, right? I'm going to corner stores, eating what's there for breakfast, lunch, or whatever, as opposed to eating fresh fruits, vegetables, and all of that. And there's been some more awareness around it. But I think that we should continue to have those conversations because a lot of those behaviors are still persistent.
Absolutely. And one of the things that we won't be doing that some people, other people do is there'll be no shaming. We're not doing that. We're going to recognize the systems and structures and why ththings are the way they are and how it is that we can be healthy to take care of ourselves and take care of each other. Yeah. There's no shame game here. We're not those kind of people. So let's jump right to it.
Really? Yeah. I want to.
It was hard enough last night just thinking about it and seeing the videos, right?
Yeah. So for everyone that knows or people that don't know, there's another murder at the hands of police officers, a black man
in Minneapolis.
15 miles from the trial site of Daniel Chauvin, the murder of George Floyd.
Yeah.
And the city came out in numbers, and they had that interaction with the police. They had tear gas, rubber bullets, and all that stuff going on. And folks are outraged, even in our own community.
And the video's on our Facebook page. Yes. There was someone locally that was videotaping what was occurring in Minneapolis. That video is shared on our Facebook page, so you can find it there.
Yeah. So just to repeat the story, what we know from the news anyway, is the brother was pulled over. He called his mom. Told his mom, look, they pulling me over for the damn air fresheners in his window, which is a tactic that police often use just to engage that interaction, to say, oh, this, this is similar to like, oh, we smell marijuana, or oh, you were going a little bit too fast, or whatever the case may be.
It's so much worse.
It's in this situation, he was telling his mom that, they pulled him over for that. They shot him. And Yeah, they shot him. He drove several more blocks and died, crashed and died. And we're talking about now the police, like I heard in the news, like, oh, well, he had a warrant for this, that.
See,
like,
you didn't know that.
Why
Just
are
shut
we,
up.
this is like, even if he did.
So what?
Even if you knew it going in.
Exactly.
Did he deserve to die for that?
No.
So the young man is 19, 20 years old, had a child of his own, I think was 2 years old. It's like, what the hell are we doing that we're continuing, like this thing is continuing on? I think it speaks to what I often talk about, which is the culture of policing. It's the same power and control that we just saw on live video when the officers were arresting the lieutenant, African-American lieutenant, at a gas station. Like they have this idea that because I wear this badge, I have this gun, that I'm all powerful and in control, and ultimately I can decide whether you live or die. Like what's going on, man?
What's going on is that I want to make sure, because we said we were going to be intentional with time today.
Yeah.
I want to make sure we talk about what this means for us locally. Because something we hear from local police chiefs when something like this happens someplace else, oh, well, that's not happening here. Mm-hmm. We're all good. No, nothing to see here, folks. Oh, I get that you're upset because you saw an image of someone that looks like you that was murdered brutally on TV, live and in color, but don't take it out on us. We didn't do it. Mm-hmm. Police forget that the reason this is triggering for folks that live here is because it reminds us of what happens here. No one has to die for it to be horrific. Yeah. And I feel as if the police say, oh, well, no, it's not as bad here, but it's bad. So, and number two, and this especially goes to Chief Clifford in Schenectady, the chief of Schenectady's police department. It is necessary for us to be proactive so that these things never happen again. That if we do not create the change, then we're simply waiting for there to be an incident that everyone gets upset about, in your eyes, that everyone gets upset about. Not that the police are meant to cause harm and they do it every single day and we need to change policing. I mean, abolish police, but we're not there yet. This is an opportunity every single day for police officers, police chiefs, mayors, city council members to create change that says to every local community, we know that this is a problem. We know that harm is caused, and we are going to be intentional about creating change to prevent future harm and to end the harm that's happening right now. Mm-hmm. So when people are outraged and showing up in the streets, it's not just about what happened someplace else. We're screaming to tell you, change it now, because we don't want to have these horrific things continue to happen right here. Good morning to folks that are on Facebook. We actually have some comments in the chat.
I see that. And why are the state police investigating the police? They are still the police. Where's the AG? I mean, AG is still the police too. Like all of that up the line is connected. If we're not, I honestly feel like we need civilian review. We need residents that are of these communities to have the opportunity to have their voices truly heard. We don't need these systems checking in on these systems, right? We don't need the aid. I mean, listen, as a part of so the money that goes into the investigation, the practice skills and know-how and all of that type of stuff are all important. So I don't want to negate that at all. Absolutely. At the same time, a part of that body should be those that are from the community to help determine, I think, what's going on. And I feel like, I just want to, I look at that young boy, I mean, he's technically an adult. He's 19. He's a very, very young person that's no longer here over a traffic stop. For those that like, this idea that somehow we should be blaming the kid that's unarmed for what happened, and not the armed individuals with all this particular types of training and all this equipment and all this other stuff. Yeah. Like I think that I think that if you're making that argument at this point, and it's hard for me to put it in words because I am extremely frustrated that I'm continuing to like find myself in this kind of position where I feel like, well, if I explain this in this way, that we'll finally get. No, it's not really about that because you're not doing that shit to everybody.
Yeah.
Like these reactions are not happening to every single community. They happen disproportionately in our community. When it's someone that is Black, when it's someone that's from Black community, like this is what happens far too often across the country. And I, for one, am tired of the talk. Like it's not about the training.
No.
Right? There's real education that has to happen. You look at communities that are safer, that these interactions don't happen, and you ask yourself, what do they have that we don't have? Resources. They have the upfront kind of respect for their humanity when they're in an interaction with someone that's from the department. I mean, it's just a different world oftentimes.
And to your point about blaming the victim, right? Blaming the person who has been murdered, assassinated, lynched by police, any place in America. It's about controlling the narrative, right? Yeah. That we're going to blame the victim for their own death. But when that occurs in any other scenario outside of police involved interactions, it is frowned upon, right? Or at least more so than it used to be. And so, this is where we are, that every single day is another day where the snooze button gets hit. I saw a meme about it. Thank you, social media. That the murder of George Floyd did not wake up America to the injustice that occurs. It did not wake up America or the world to the harm that's caused to Black men everywhere, or poor people in LGBTQ, right? Like all of the others that are othered by white supremacy. Yeah. It has happened time and time and time again for hundreds of years, but y'all motherfuckers just keep hitting the snooze button. Like, oh, wait, that's a problem. No, we'll deal with that later. Every mayor, every city council member that is not making drastic changes to ensure the safety and well-being of the people is saying, I'm not worried about anti-Blackness. I'm not worried about police brutality. I'm not worried about people being harmed for being something other than the ideal white supremacist goal. I'm perpetuating white supremacy. And I've got a song about it, but I'm not going to sing it right now. Well, you know, it's my favorite.
Yeah, we'll get to that. That when we're out in rallies and chants, we can actually give folks something to talk about. So the hope is, and the continued fight, is that this is not. It's been going on for so long. Yep. Right. That we don't get desensitized to what's happening. Exactly. That we don't just like, well, there's nothing we can do. We got whatever. We have to continue to fight and continue to push. And listen, man, my heartfelt condolences to the family of Dante Wright, his child, his mom, all his loved ones out there, all the folks in Minneapolis, all the folks around the country who are heartbroken today after learning that this brother was killed the way he was. This is another Black man, Black person dead at the hands of the police. And
to everyone locally that this brings up really personal things for you, whether you lost a loved one or you are personally the victim of police brutality, take time to just breathe, lean on some folks, make a phone call to somebody and let them know that you're okay or that you need help being okay. And then look for opportunities to join us in this fight, because what we often hear from those that have been harmed in any way is that they don't want it to happen to somebody else. Yeah. That the ultimate goal is, how do we stop this from happening to somebody else? And there's so much that we have to keep our eye on, right? Yeah. Which brings us to our next topic. You talked about resources, right? That communities that are not facing such extreme police brutality, they have resources. Yeah. And so we now are in a position where we could have more resources in those marginalized, impacted communities, if only our local elected representatives were going to be intentional about making sure that money is spent in a way that is equitable and creates actual structural change.
Yeah, so tell them more. We've got this stimulus money coming in. It's tens of millions of dollars to each locality.
Yep.
And it's in response to the economic downturn and global pandemic that has impacted everybody on some levels, right?
Yeah.
So tell them so how much money are we getting?
Oh my gosh. So
what should we be using it for? Because I know people want to hear about that.
Yeah. So the federal government under the Biden administration, that everyone's like, yay, the Biden administration. And yeah, they're doing a couple things right, but not enough. There's going to be COVID relief money that goes across the country, and they go in buckets. So New York State is getting funding. And I, of course, am really excited about the funding that's going specifically to education. There's a specific pot of money that's going to education for New York State that only can be used for education. But there are other pots of money that the state will receive. Then each locality, cities and counties, get buckets of money. So Albany, which is getting more than $85 million as the city. And then the county is getting like another, I can't remember the number, but it's separate, right? That those bodies of government are getting money to spend to have an impact on communities that's supposed to be equitable because of COVID. The city of Schenectady is getting more than $50 million. The county will get an additional pot of money, Schenectady County. Even Saratoga is getting like $15 million, right? Because Saratoga has a homeless population. There are people impacted differently in Saratoga, even though it is like 98% white in Saratoga. There's the disproportionality of people of color and poor people who live in Saratoga that were adversely affected in ways that were far greater than everybody else.
Remember, capitalism requires inequality.
That's right.
It doesn't matter what you look like. It requires inequality. Go ahead.
So the idea is that this money is supposed to be distributed in a way that is going to make life better for folks. What do we know about how government, as it operates right now, makes its decisions?
I mean, oftentimes it's those closed door conversations, or this long bureaucratic red tape that folks have to go to.
Yeah, who's in the room?
And it ain't us. I can tell you that.
Not impacted folks, not marginalized folk, not those that are struggling to survive. It is those that are in positions of power, decision-making roles that often come from great privilege, not always, but often come from great privilege, and then do not have the firsthand experience or knowledge of what it is, what are the needs of individuals, right? You can maybe look at data, look at other localities and say, oh, well, this group did this thing and that worked well. But the best course of action is always to speak directly to the people that are impacted, right? Because each locality is a little different. We have a lot of similarities, but there's also differences, right? How much is needed for housing? How much is needed for childcare? How much is needed for our parks, Schenectady, versus not for the parks in Albany? There's all of these differences that come up that you're not going to know if you're not actually communicating with the people. City of Albany put out a survey and said, here are your options, choose from these. That's not communicating with people, Kathy. Do better. The city of Schenectady ain't said a damn thing.
No. I haven't seen anything.
Kind of pretend like the money's not even coming.
I haven't seen the mayor come out and say a bunch of stuff. No one from the common council either at this point. Definitely none of the Cali legs.
Because they just want to go and spend the money the way they want to spend the money, and they want us not to be paying attention, which is what they do all the damn time, which is why we have to pay attention, because these resources could be a game changer.
They're good.
There could be pre-existing nonprofit organizations that get more funding that go directly to programs and services that help the community. That also includes childcare, right? Because people are going back to work. Some people can't work because there's not affordable childcare. I know, because it costs money. And then job training programs that are actual skills and career training, not just soft skills Lauren Manning, God bless you. We're not here to tell you how to build a resume or how to talk a proper way while sitting in an interview or to wear a button-up shirt. We're talking about what does it mean to have a training on being an electrician or doing construction work, and then
actual training,
connecting
to
jobs,
vocational training, education that's going to actually that's applicable to the work and finding a career and finding a way to sustain yourself. In a community that has such a high poverty rate, it is super important for that to be the case. And I just want to Lauren did make a great point about the trainings often consist of how to interview, which is just something you do need to know, but that is far away from what's important as far as what it is trying to earn a paycheck. Can
we instead train those that are hiring how not to be racist and how not to be, operating under a system of white supremacy that treats different cultures and individuals as if they are less than because they don't fit into a box? Can we have that training?
I mean, I think it's a both and. We definitely need to have that. We need to make sure that's happening. We live in a culture that has historically operated in one particular way. We need to find out different ways and be creative in how we're going to address it. I do want to say one thing that's important is visibility when it comes to the programs that are available. And I know that there are several programs that have begun some have been around for some time. We need to make sure that those folks are visible. People are aware of who they are and what they're doing. Because I'm gonna tell you right now, I talked to a couple of brothers. I talked to folks at Mission Accomplished. I talked to folks at different orgs about what was happening, and then go talking in the community, and people don't know.
And shout out to Seat Center here in Schenectady that does a really great job. They don't know.
No, they don't know, and that's a part of the problem, because if the numbers aren't there now, look, so us making the argument that these folks need to get this money so they can do this thing here, and then the numbers on the other end don't reflect the people coming through the door because there's no awareness about it. You telling me right now that if I walked into the community and I just went and walked like I do, like to go walk and talk to people, and I'm like, yo, hey, with my flyers, this thing is happening now. This is the moment for a career opportunity to do this, that, and the third. And I'm talking to people that are desperately looking for those opportunities. You telling me that no one's going to show up, or a few people are going to show up?
No.
That's nonsense. So what are we doing as a community? What have they been doing?
City, county.
Right? And to make sure that folks are aware of the opportunities that are available to them.
And that's about an investment in resources.
That's about investment in resources. Facts.
Not just the printing of flyers, but paying for a Canvas team to go out into a community as part of a city or county initiative to let them know about the programs and services that are available for those that are in need. Does that sound radical? That a locality would pay local community members? Let's be real. Do not outsource these jobs to somebody from someplace else. That in the city of Schenectady, there are young people, there's all kinds of folks that could do outreach in local communities. You could actually have an initiative targeted in each neighborhood. Like, hey, we're looking for a Hamilton Hill street team. Hey, we're looking for a North Side street team, and we're going to pay you a certain amount of money to be able to canvas. They do it when when elections come up.
No, with no problem.
The Democratic Party will put that money out there, get you out on the street. They also look for volunteers, but prioritize investing in the community to let them know about the resources, but also give them money to do the work, which is also true when we talk about changing what policing looks like and community initiatives and all of that stuff. Paying people where they live, training them where they live, giving them the opportunity to get out of poverty that you created in the first place.
And this is what we mean when we're thinking about the words equity and equality, right? Like when we're thinking about making sure folks have opportunity. So making having something that's accessible, quote unquote accessible, right, for the average or this universal person, usually means folks that are in different situations than abstract poverty and have been in abstract poverty for generations, right? So if we understand that, everything that's going on today is rooted in this kind of history of oppression and exploitation, and we want to help take the steps away from that, then this is what you do. You take that extra money, you take that extra time, and you go out and you're really intentional to ensure Even if you got to go door to door, even if you got to stand on the corner with a bullhorn and say, look, this is what's going on, this is what's happening, be in their face every single week, then that's what you got to do. This idea that folks don't want opportunity and don't want change is nonsense, rooted in the white supremacy that you just spoke of, and the ideology of rugged individualism that says that a person makes these choices based on what they actually want, right? And not on what they need.
And pull yourself up by your bootstraps.
Yeah.
Anyone can do it. If Oprah's a millionaire and Barack Obama became president, stop it. Just get out my face. The thing that, as we're talking, I realize is that elected representatives have no idea how to do grassroots organizing. And that they refuse to reach out to the leaders, I'm talking about us, who actually know how to do the work. Because every example that I gave is the work that we do with no resources. With no resources. That the city that has the access and opportunity, right? If they don't know how to do something, that if they were truly leaders, they would reach out to those that have the skills and expertise to help them do that work, and they would pay them for their time, right? So to every locality in the greater capital region, if you're looking for how to do the work that we're talking about, pay us, okay? Yeah, make that happen. Because
I like that. You just said, get back to the money. Hey, pay the group, pay the orgs that are actually out here in the streets doing the work.
Because we actually could create with very, it takes effort and time, but we know how to recruit and hire individuals that are able to go into communities and train. We can do the training, because that's the other thing. What city or locality knows how to train individuals on canvassing, on community organizing, on having conversations with individuals over the phone or face-to-face, because it's an actual skill that can be learned, that you'd be able to train individuals in their local community. And it is a transferable skill. It's not like, oh my gosh, when I'm done canvassing, I can't do anything else, because being able to communicate with folks is something that you need lifelong. There's money that's coming here. We're gonna continue to talk about the different programs that are going to be available. We'll throw stuff in our email list. It'll be up on our page. We'll talk about and we talked about going out into the community again, and instead of doing the survey like Albany did, find out what the communities are talking about, right? Go out there, have those conversations, sit down with, I'm from that community. So it's not like I can't talk about it myself, but talking to the folks that are there on the ground, what is needed here? What do you think, that money should be spent on? Because in all actuality, that's their money. That's the city's money, and the folks that need it the most are the folks that live in these really marginalized, impoverished communities. That's your money already. And that's the kind of mentality you got to come show up with this for. Okay, if that's our money, what do I want to spend on? And then you got to make those demands known, right? What programs do you want? What other opportunities do you want, etc. I'm talking about my own personal feelings and what I've talked to other people about in the street. We've already heard from people.
So, and my thing is, we heard from them, and we're going to continue to hear from them. And the thing is, we hear from them, and now we need to make sure that their voices are heard directly down at City Hall and other places to make sure that they get the things that they deserve. Right?
Because local mayors and city council members, at least the vast majority of y'all, because there are a couple city council members that will have and do know how to talk to community members. But mayors, I got nothing for you. I need to tell every mayor, no one's coming up to you and telling you their business and what they're thinking and what they're feeling and what they need. That's not happening. Credible messengers that actually understand the community, those are the individuals that they talk to. I was out this weekend with my children. We went to all the different parks in Schenectady. Malia ended up doing a safety PSA at almost every single park. It's on my page. And it was great. Malia's 9 and now wants to do public safety in a real way, not a cop-based way. And there was a grandmother at one of the parks, Steinman's, who said, why isn't there something for bikes and strollers? Why isn't there something for smaller children? All this equipment is for bigger children. This is someone who is at the park who just started talking to me. She heard Malia and I doing the live, and she just started talking to us. That ain't happening to you, Gary. So if you want to pretend to be a leader, then act like one and speak to the people that actually know what the hell is going on. Because there's a lot going on in our cities, including around rent.
Yeah, and this goes, back into the, so what we're going to talk about now is the stimulus relief package that's coming on, the rent moratorium. So for those that know, there's been a rent moratorium, for some time since the beginning of well, I won't say the beginning because it wasn't a rent moratorium,
No.
very early stages.
No.
That came after a lot of pressure and conversations.
Yeah.
And there was a rent moratorium that was extended into January, and then it was into February, and then the CDC just did an extension until after the executive branch extension came up. The CDC was like, no, we need to make sure this thing is out until at least June 30th. So for all of y'all facing eviction right now, facing, all kinds of issues with housing, the moratorium is still in existence, right? And all the moratorium does is make sure that you cannot be legally evicted, right? You cannot be legally evicted at this point in time. Doesn't mean that rent ain't accruing,
right?
That money ain't going to be owed. That's on some levels, but there is no legal way for them to get you out unless there's something about posing some extreme risk or danger to whatever, right?
Code enforcement.
And actually code enforcement is an interesting topic, and I want to get to that because I talked to a brother just the other day that we have code enforcement circling Hamilton Hill in these poor communities, running down on poor property owners, black, brown, oftentimes, and I want to talk to them. And trying to enforce all these codes and causing this kind of havoc. And the brother was telling me this is not happening in other areas, right? But I don't want to go there right now. But I do want to say that the moratorium is still in existence. It is up until June 30th. I believe it's June 30th. They can't legally evict you. You have rights. The AG's office, the Attorney General's office, had put out a notice to all law enforcement across the state that if a landlord is there's a whole list of things. As a matter of fact, we'll share it in the chat later. There's a whole list of things that a landlord can't do that they actually face risk of some sort of civil or criminal matter if they do it. Yeah. So there's legal protections there for you. So that's good. Now, thinking about the money though. Yeah. Right? Now, the little bit I know about the stimulus package is that after May 1st, you have to apply. Landlords don't have to apply. They just have to own property, right? Rental properties.
Yeah. They don't have to do anything. If you own the property, oh, I'm here for you.
Now look, what I've learned is that tenants can apply and they can get the full, for the whole year, all that money back, right? Will not go to the tenant though, it's gonna go to the landlord. All the money that was missed for all that time is going to get paid for in New York State for the full year. In addition to that, you get a full year of not being able to be evicted for any reason, right? No good cause eviction, right? At all. The tenant, you get a full year. And also there's money there because if you lost your job or you missed all this, that you're going to get money. It is a huge, huge deal right now.
That nobody knows about.
That not many people know about. And I was talking with some folks the other day, and they were pressed about, this is a property owner who's pressed about. Well, I'm like, yo, they got all this money that you're getting already that's coming to you because of the stimulus package, right? And you're going to be taken care of. And we know it's hard, but they made sure that this money's coming your way. And I'm not saying they did everything they could do for everybody, but that money is coming, and you don't have to do a whole lot for it at this point. So my thing is. Help is on the way in the form of that stimulus money. The protection on the back end to keep you in that place for an entire year, if you so choose. If you want to, you don't have to stay there. If you so choose.
If you're the slumlord, leave.
Exactly.
Please get out.
You get that full protection for the whole year, and you get money on top of it. And it's a pretty huge deal. And all you have to do is, and they say the obstacles for applying, or the obstacles that like things you got to show this, you got to show this pay stub, and when was the last this and all of that. Like they're saying that it's very loose. Okay. As far as there aren't that many restrictions to it, and I've heard good things about it now. There's a difference between policy and practice, right? Now, the policy can say one thing, the practice is something totally different.
Yep.
And we're looking to ensure that it's meted out equitably and that people have real opportunity. What's going on? Something in the chat?
Yeah. So someone said you shouldn't say they can't be evicted for any reason. That's not true. And you should advise listeners to be fiscally responsible and pay their rent. Don't trust the government. Rely on yourselves. John, have you paid attention to anything that we've been saying? Were you listening? Did you just show up at this point in the airing of this live and not hear all of the other things that we said previously?
So we talked about the one outstanding reason that you can be legally evicted, and as far as posing danger and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
There's legal basis for that.
Feel free to rewind.
There is a moratorium
rewatch.
at this point. Rewind and watch, but there is a moratorium at this point on evictions. It's in all. We have the documents here. We'll share them online so you can check them out. John, I appreciate you watching and tuning in. And you're talking about fiscal responsibility of a community of people that lost their jobs during the worst economic crisis and health crisis in the history of our generation. So I'm saying, I'm saying, if you can't simply be worried about or talking about fiscal responsibility for folks who don't have work, who were poor to begin with, right? Who were poor to begin with, right? Who have been generations of being targeted to be impoverished and to be jailed and etc. And then say, well, it's just about fiscal responsibility. It's about way more than just fiscal responsibility.
There is this horrible thing that has happened over the last year plus where people have said, well, what about your savings? Why weren't you saving money for a rainy day? Well, why weren't you prepared for this crisis? Poor people don't have savings. They are struggling to survive every single day. There are statistics about how much money the vast majority of people have in a bank. It is impossible, and I mean that in all totality, for an individual that is living in poverty to say, you know what, if I just don't buy this bunch of grapes today, I'll be able to plan for the day that I lose my job and I have to worry about paying for rent when I don't have any income coming in. At the same time, there's this new phenomenon that has happened, that being a property owner became your job, which was never what it was, because that property is an investment. And while an individual may be facing, hardships because a tenant is not paying rent, that building has equity. It is worth something. That is a savings. That is an investment. That building that property owner has. There are all types of layers and issues around this, but someone had put in the chat talking about, welfare shaming. Abso-freaking-lutely, this idea of saying to poor people, oh my gosh, like you should be ashamed of yourself that you can't pay your bills, instead of looking at the systems and structures that make it so they can't. I get a little feeling some kind of way because I've spent way too many years dealing with DSS. Yeah.
And I just want to, there's another statistic out there, and I think it's something like it's close to 70% of the working population doesn't have $1,000 saved, right? Doesn't have $1,000. Right. So that's not just people that live in Black and brown communities. That's the majority of working, of those that work in our country.
Yep.
Right. So it's like, so anyway, back to what I don't want to get too derailed, but that is and I'm glad you posted that in the chat. I'm glad we were able to talk about it, because unfortunately that is a mindset of many people that is only about that thing and then it's kind of disconnected from. It'd be great if everybody was able to save their money and have it, and then a rainy day comes and they have all these thousands of dollars. But I want to just remind you that capitalism requires inequality.
Yeah.
Right. It requires inequality,
exploitation,
right? It's a part of the deal that for those that have so much, like a Bezos and all the others, like there has to be many with not anything, without a lot,
and
right?
The bailouts that go to the wealthy when they say, "Oh my goodness, our profit margins dropped," but they actually have money in the bank. They're deciding whether or not they're going to sell a yacht or buy a new home. In addition to the other two they have, right? That we instead are going, well, poor people. No, So it's hard. And again, like I definitely feel some kind of way with what I've gone through growing up poor in Schenectady, a city that has close to a 70% poverty rate. Mm-hmm. And anyone that says different, go ahead and talk to the United Way about the statistics. They're the ones that ran the numbers. 70% in the city of Schenectady, Gary McCarthy. Take that number with you when you're talking about the 75 million invested in Hamilton Hill that went to people outside of the community. But I digress. People need resources. Eviction moratorium is something that should happen. And we need to keep moving forward and paying attention and make sure that the resources that are now coming in from the federal government go to the communities most in need, that the state legislature, which did the right thing and increased taxes on the wealthy, thank you for getting it right in the middle of your scandal, Governor Cuomo, that these things only happen when we continue to apply pressure, that we show up at events, that we make phone calls, that we send emails, and all the things that we do time and time and time again.
Time and time and time again.
Oh yeah, I did it again.
I mean, and again, and again. So look, I see John said he really likes what we do. Appreciate that. I hope that we were able to kind of enlighten you a little bit about that particular subject. So where are we at next?
There's stuff coming up, right? The reason that we've had the wins that we've had is because we show up in different places. So there are a couple things coming up. The first thing, it's not the only thing, by the way. This is not a, list of everything that's happening, because there are other groups and organizations that have things going on, whether it's direct service or actions. If you are a local group or organization and you want to share with us what you have going on so we can share them on our Monday morning lives, please send them to us at untitledandfree@gmail.com. But tomorrow, Tuesday, April 13th, is the Faith Leaders Parole Lobby Day for New York State, because the state legislature is still going all the way till June. We made it through the budget, but there are still lots of laws that need to be passed that will have an impact on our communities that are currently and formerly incarcerated. There's a whole list of bills that people are lobbying for, and this one is being led by faith leaders under the premise of second chances, right? Communities of faith say, you too can be reborn, or you get a second chance, but unfortunately, which you talk about very often, our carceral system doesn't work that way. And so faith leaders are standing up and saying, New York State Legislature, you can and should do better. That's tomorrow. That information will be in our email. There's also next week, we're the ones hosting Parole Justice Freedom Hour for New York State, for the no pressure, working with releasing aging people in prison and a whole bunch of other groups and organizations to, again, continue to say to the New York State Legislature, come on, like, you talk about being as far left as you can be and being progressive, and then it's time to step up and show that you can do that. There will be emails and phone calls and tweets that we will be sharing on our email list and our social media for folks to join in and be a part of that, and call on Carl Heastie and Andrea Stewart Cousins to lead the way for radical change in our justice system that's not just at all.
Yeah, pass bills like Fair and Timely Act. Fair and Timely Act. Fair and Timely Act. I'm going to say it, Fair and Timely Act is an important piece of legislation. It is not the only piece of legislation that needs to be passed. We have revenue stuff that has to happen, but Fair and Timely takes a lot of that broad discretion away from the commissioners on the parole board and determining or simply being able to rely on a person's, whatever a person is incarcerated for, to keep them behind bars. That they're sentenced to a split time, say a 15 to 20, 10 to 20, whatever the case may be, go in front of the parole board oftentimes, no matter what they've done in the interim. So no matter how they educated themselves, no matter how they mentored other people, no matter how their disciplinary record is clean, they can always go back and say, well, you did this thing back then, so we still don't feel it's enough. We need you to do more time, which is arbitrary as hell, right? When you consider that the judge said the judge would allow this to be from this to this, and we can still, you can never change what happened back then. You can only change yourself today and moving forward. And Fair and Timely at least allows for folks to have more of an opportunity to be released as far as compared to what we have now. And it's really, really important, because you don't know, to see the light leave folks' eyes that have been so desperately trying to get home, and then to find out that they were denied again, despite everything they've done.
The programs that they
create. So oftentimes not to participate, but create. I'm saying people create programs, right, to help folks, to do something. So anyway.
So
fair and timely, you'll hear more about that.
There's a whole bunch of stuff coming up. And then one more thing I want to mention, again, like this is not an exhaustive list. There's all kinds of stuff that's happening, that's coming up. We have some really exciting things that we'll be announcing next week.
Yes.
That's coming up in the Capital District. Really excited. But as all of the really excited, it's the sunshine in me. As we talk about the different intersections of our lives, right? Because you don't just show up as one part of yourself. It's not one day I wake up a woman and the next day I wake up Black. I'm always a Black woman. I also happen to be a mother. I happen to be part of the workforce, right? Yeah. So May Day is one of the few US-born revolutionary movements, global movements. Mm-hmm. That's around worker justice, which, by the way, was led by a Black woman. I said what I said. More to come on that. So May Day, May 1st, every single year to talk about worker justice, to stand up for workers and their fight forward. In Albany, in front of Albany Medical Center, a bunch of folks are going to come together to declare we're still here and fighting for worker justice. The reason we have an 8-hour workday is because of the fight for worker justice. The reason children are not working in factories is because of the fight for worker justice, and so many other things. But we have to keep pushing forward because there are still workers that don't have those types of protections. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And unions work hard to protect their workers. We need to make sure that every worker knows justice. And so we will come together with an incredible cast of groups and organizations on May 1st in Albany. But there's a lot more that's going to be happening, and opportunities for people to have their voices heard and to lend their bodies to creating change.
So I look forward to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And although that day, I think I'm busy. I think I got a COVID shot I have to get on. Yeah, day, right?
Actually, you do get your second COVID shot on that day.
Yeah, I went and did it, y'all. I don't know. Listen, if I grow wings, fly, or die, you know why it happens. I've been healthy the whole time. I ain't been sick yet. Somebody convinced me, first of all.
I got both my shots.
First of all, it doesn't impact everybody the same.
That's true.
That's the first thing.
Yeah, I had
everybody's biology is different. I actually watched a news thing today talking about the impact of it. And it's so based on what they're telling us, it's a very, 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 very small amount of people that actually have some sort of some harder issues than others when it comes to it, which is great to know.
Flu-like symptoms.
Still, we'll see what happens. I wasn't all that comfortable with doing it, and I know many of y'all might not be that comfortable. But I did it because I do have elderly folks in my life. I have young people in my life, and I felt like I operated under the best information I had at the time, and the best information I had at the time told me that this was more the right thing to do. But I'm telling you, it was close. It was close, but I got it done, and hey, it is what it is. And I'll see how I still feel great. And we'll see how this goes. Got to protect myself.
So
health and wellness.
More to come on that. Thank you to everyone that is watching either on Facebook or on YouTube, because this is also on YouTube. Yeah. And we are on every social media platform that there is at Untitled and Free, whether it is Facebook, whether it is Twitter, whether it is Instagram, which, by the way, I really love our Instagram following. Mm-hmm. It's dope. But make sure that you join the email list, that you join us next Monday, that you share with folks, that you go and like it on YouTube and all of those other things. But just keep doing what we're doing, right? Yeah. That we talk to each other, that we have these discussions, that we take care of each other, because I think one of the most radical things we ever do is look out for each other.
No, we do. We really do. Yeah. I take it to heart to try to make sure I be there, show up and talk and whatever else I can do for the folks in my immediate circle, especially try to help when they're in need. So yeah, I just want to say just one more thing. We over time.
Again.
We're about 50 minutes. This thing is supposed to be about a half an hour.
Oops.
Yeah.
It was a good conversation.
It was a good conversation.
Nobody's mad.
It's a lot to talk about. I'm sure nobody's mad. Well, some folks are mad at us. They don't like it. I bet right now out of the, it was like 20 something people at the time I was watching, a little less than that now. And somebody was on there like, yeah, I can't stand these black asses. I know it.
All right, we're going to go because we're just going to devolve further from here.
Is it really devolution?
You know what I'm going to say.
I don't know.
Wear your mask. drink water.
I feel like
take care of yourselves and take care of each
I
other.
feel like this is what they want to hear from us
We'll talk to y'all later. Say laters.
Peace. I'm not gonna do that. Have a great day, man. Stay blessed, stay up, stay healthy, stay well. Look for the times for action, because it's coming.